All right, well, welcome back again. All right, so I believe we're wrapping this home life up. We're going to break the crazy cycle. So, husbands and wives, you can have a crazy cycle with your parents. You can have a crazy cycle with your boss. Breaking the crazy cycle. This is typically something that we see a lot with husbands and wives. So, here's what it looks like. This is a book called Love and Respect, written by Emerson Eggerichs. And so this is a really powerful teaching. And what he teaches here is this: without love, she reacts without respect. And then without respect, he reacts without love. Without love, she reacts without respect. Without respect, he reacts without love. Without love, she reacts without respect. Okay, so you see the cycle. And we see this happen in our marriages, in our lives so often, is the man feels disrespected by how he's treated. Then he reacts without love. She says, I don't feel loved in this marriage, so she doesn't respect him. And so what happens is we go through this cycle that does not work. And we see this over and over and over. So I'm not a counselor, but I've done a lot of marriage counseling or marriage coaching. And here's the thing is that we hear men all the time say the thing that they want most from their wife, more than any other need. We've talked about his needs and her needs. We've already discussed that, but the greatest need that he needs more than anything else or wants or desires is to be respected. And a lot of times wives, they say, well, they want more than anything else to be loved and appreciated. And so here's the thing is what she says is she goes, I love you, honey. He's like, I just want you to show me respect. And she's like, and he then tries to show her respect because that's what he wants in return. And she goes, I just want you to love me and adore me and to want me and to all of this. And so this is why this cycle is so bad. So here we go. Let's talk about breaking the crazy cycle. 4 things. 1, accept the fact that you will have crazy times. So 1, if you're like, hey, we have this all the time, you're going to have the crazy cycle. We got to break it when it happens. Not if it happens, when. You're going to do this. I've been married 21 years. I love my wife. She's the most infuriating, amazing person in my life. And here's the deal. We have our own crazy times. We have our own crazy cycles. And all of a sudden, we're like, hey, we're in a crazy cycle. We need to stop it, right? Secondly, always believe in the best in your spouse. You did not marry Satan's cousin. A lot of times it's like, man, if you knew who I was married to. So are you saying that you're such a poor judge in character? Because that's what we often do. Well, you don't know who I married. You don't know. You chose her or you chose him. Seriously? You're that bad of a judge of character? And then all of a sudden we're like, well, I'm not the bad judge of character. Exactly. That ain't Satan's cousin you're married to. You're in a bad cycle and you need to stop it. So you need to start believing the best in that person that you chose. Number 3, slow down. Decode. What do I mean? Hey, you're missing some important information that can change your whole perspective. We have so much assumptions built into our crazy cycles. You assume this, they assume that. Now you don't have the right information. You didn't completely get it right. Number 4, decide. You must decide how you will react when the crazy train shows up. So let's look this out. So we're going to break this down. So breaking that crazy cycle, the first thing I need to do is accept the craziness, right? Relax first. Relax. Right? This craziness is a part of marriage. You chose this, okay? In 1 Corinthians 7:28, it explains this. We're going to get there in a second. But when you get to this crazy, when this crazy cycle happens, don't panic. There are no fairy tales here. We watch too many Walt Disney princess stories and think that that's what marriage is. It ain't. Okay? We need to understand the 80-20 rule. 20% of the time you will have craziness. When we get above 20% crazy and you're crazy, 25, 30% of the time, here's how I like to look at it. I looked at it going, okay, 30 days in a month, right? typically, right? I know we're not going to argue over a day. 30 days. Out of 30 days, how many days out of the 30 is absolutely crazy? Like, oh my goodness, this was a whole lot of Looney Tunes going on, right? How many days? So when Barbara and I was going through some difficulties in our marriage, even at the worst times of our marriage, when I looked at it as a 30-day window, I think that the worst we've ever had it would be like, the worst we've ever had in our marriage was like maybe 5 days, like just absolutely crazy 5 days out of 30. Well, that's a really good percentage. That means that 25 days were manageable. And out of those 25 days, I would have like 15 to 20 that were great. Then all of a sudden you look at it and you say, okay, we're not doing that bad. When you have 20 horrible days and 10 good days, yes, something's got to change, and it's got to change fast. But get perspective in your marriage. 1 Corinthians 7:28, if you do marry, you have not sinned. For Virgin Mary, she's not sinned, but those who marry will face many troubles in this life. You got married, you're going to have craziness. Get over it. So here's a couple of scriptures. As we already said, 1 Corinthians chapter 7 has a lot of stuff about marriage. So a couple of things that it says, now for the matters you wrote about, it is good for a man not to have sexual relations with a woman. But since sexual immorality is occurring, each man should have sexual relations with his own wife, and each woman with her own husband. The husband should fulfill his marital duty to his wife, and likewise the wife to her husband. Look at verse 4. The wife does not have authority over her own body, but yields it to her husband. In the same way, the husband does not have authority over his own body, but yields it to his wife. Do not deprive each other, perhaps by mutual consent and for a time, so that you may devote yourselves to prayer. Then come together again, so that Satan will not tempt you because of your lack of self-control. This is a concession, not as a command. So here's the thing, is what does that have to do? It has a lot to do it, because what a lot of times happens is this. We get into a crazy cycle, and we sometimes use sex as our weapon to attack. I'm going to withhold my husband's marital right because I'm mad at him, or I'm going to withhold from my wife because I'm mad at her. And the Bible says, no, this is not how it works. I don't have authority over my body belongs to her, and her body belongs to me. And the thing is yes, I'm not going to go in there and have marital rights when we are fighting. But when we get done fighting, we need to come back together so that Satan can't get in there and create something between another person, or pornography, or allow something else to add more craziness to the art. We already have craziness, don't add more. Okay, next. So, accept the craziness, right? All right, here's the deal. The second part of that was believe the best in the other, right? You are allies, not enemies. It's important for you to understand that you are allies. You and your spouse, you're a team. It's okay if allies disagree. I don't agree with everything Barbara says, and she doesn't agree with everything I say or do. But here's the deal, is we're on the same team. You are both good people with goodwill. And here's the thing is I married an amazing person. She, I hope, believes the same thing about me. So when you believe the best in each other, it really allows you to grow. Now look at these verses. But a man married is concerned about the affairs of not of this world, how he can please his wife. So when you get married, I'm not undivided to the Lord. So when Paul was trying to teach about marriage, he was saying, hey, if you don't get married, then you're just 100% all about God. But if you get married, you're now concerned about the affairs of this world, how you can please your wife, how you can please your husband. And his interests are divided. An unmarried woman or a virgin is concerned about the Lord's affairs. Her aim is to be devoted to the Lord, both body and spirit. But a married woman is concerned about the affairs of this world, how she can please her husband. What he's saying is this: when you get married, you're in this. And now you're trying to figure out how can we please each other. When sometimes that crazy cycle gets going, we stop caring about pleasing the other. That's not good. So, accept the craziness, believe the best, slow down. Slow down. One missed piece of information can change everything. Okay? Don't dismiss your spouse. A lot of times you guys get upset about a text message, and I can't tell you how many times I've heard somebody read a text message and then assume the voice of the person who sent it. Oh, I can't believe they sent me this. Oh, they said, and then you incorporate all the attitude into it. I can't believe they said this. And when you read it and you don't put in the attitude or your assumption in their body language, and you just read the information in the text, you're like, I don't understand what the problem is. Don't dismiss. Don't assume. Man, if we could just listen, and if we don't understand what they meant, we ask another question. Is there any reason my spouse is acting this way? In other words, man, they're having a bad day. Is there anything that's going on? And then that follow-up question is this: is there anything that I could have done that caused this? Because a lot of times we're like, man, what is their problem? And then we start having an attitude. Or maybe we did something and we don't realize what we did that caused them to feel threatened or feel upset. Start asking questions. Slow it down. Don't jump into the crazy cycle. Somebody else might be on the crazy cycle. To slow down. Try to figure out what's going on. Ask questions. Now look at this. Miscommunication is the number one reason for arguments. When what we hear is not what was said. Oh, that's good. How often what I'm hearing is not what is actually said. So here's how do we get out of the miscommunication? Repeat what you heard. Then ask if that's correct. I think what I hear, help me out. Is this what you said? Did you mean it like this? Because that's how I took it. No. You misunderstood. Okay, help me. See, what a lot of times we do is we allow the assumption to run wild, right? So when we hear what is not said, that is a huge deal. So I need to listen before I react. When I listen, I need to repeat and make sure this is what you meant. There's sometimes you're going to say, did you mean this? Oh, yes, I did. Oh, okay. All right, now we have a problem. But how many times do we create a problem when there was no problem to be had? So then, accept the craziness. It's going to happen. Believe the best in them. Slow down and decode. And then finally, decide how you will react. I love this. When the craziest train is going to show up, when the crazy train shows up, I need to decide how I'm going to react. Who breaks the cycle? Listen to me. Maturity moves first. Be the mature one. That does not mean that you say, oh, I'll be the mature one. I'm going to move first. No. What you just did is you became immature, because that's what immature people would do. Maturity says, okay, I recognize what's going on, and I need to take ownership here. I need to take responsibility. I need to stop this thing before it goes any further. Take ownership of you. That's what this means. Not, hey, I'll be more mature than you, so I'm going to stop this stuff. No. You take ownership of you and what you decide to do and how you do it. Now watch this. Your marriage is a direct picture of your relationship with Almighty God. Would you treat the Lord the same way you treat your spouse? I want you to think about the church, right, as a bunch of people. And the church is called the bride of Christ. He uses the church constantly as an illustration of Him and the Lord. Like the Lord and the church. And so what he's teaching the church is what marriage is supposed to look like. I want you to think about this. Are you treating your spouse the same way you treat the Lord? Or would you treat the Lord the same way you're currently treating your spouse? Ephesians 5:22, wives, submit yourselves to your own husbands as you do to the Lord. You don't submit to the husband because he deserves it. You submit because God says to. He says, in the same way you submit to me, submit to your husband. The husbands love this verse. Husbands love to throw this verse sometimes even in their wives' face. You're to submit to me. No, man, if you have to demand submission, you're doing something wrong. Husbands, verse 25. Husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church. Think about this. It goes on to say that Christ gave himself up for the church. Husband, if you are dying for her, and you have a sacrificial servant's love for your spouse, you will never have to worry about her submitting. She will submit because of your love, because of your servitude and your sacrifice. You love her not because she deserves it, because sometimes they don't, just like you don't always deserve to be submitted to. You love because God says so, and this love is his love, not your love. He says, I want you to love her. Husbands, love agape. That is an unconditional, without expectations, without a list of to-dos. If you do this, I'll love you. No, it is a love without expectation. It is a love without conditions. It is unconditional. That's the love. When you love your wife like that, she will not have a problem submitting to you. Verse 33, wrapping it all up. I love this. However, each of you also must love his wife as he loves himself, and the wife must respect her husband. Love and respect. When you love her with love, she reacts with respect. With respect, he reacts with love. Remember, the other was the opposite. Without love, she reacts without respect. Without respect, he reacts without love. Now we got to turn that upside down. Husbands, with love, she responds or reacts with respect. With ladies, wives, with respect, he responds, or she responds, he responds with with love. So when you flip that upside down, husbands, when you're loving her, she's going to show you respect. When you show him respect, he's going to respond with love. Now you have a good cycle filled with love and respect. That's when you know you have a biblical marriage, when this happens. This is a biblical marriage. So guys, that's it for home life. I hope it was helpful. I hope you can go back and look at these different videos and kind of draw from them and get help in all areas of home. But guys, this is it. We have finished our semester of home life. Love you guys. Stay tuned for next semester.